This episode of the Towing Life podcast is sponsored by Herb's Towing and Recovery. With over 65 years of experience, Herb's Towing is your go-to service provider for both the 401 and 417 highways. Fully plated and insured for Quebec and the United States, Herb's Towing should be your main contact for any cross-border trips. Some companies in Ontario don't want the headache of cross-border permits. Let Herb's Towing give you some peace of mind. With 2 convenient locations near the Quebec and US border, Herb's Towing will pick up or finish off any cross-border runs you have. Visit them at herbstowing.ca, that's Herbs towing.ca for more information.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Going once, going twice, sold. Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the one chain wonder himself, Mr. PlainGuy.
What is going on, G? What is going on? I want to ask you something. If I'm the one chain wonder, are you the no chain wonder?
I always chain up when I'm driving a flatbed. Just leave it at that.
I love how you had to throw in that in the flatbed. Hey, absolutely. Welcome everyone to the Towing Life Podcast. You guys know, as usual, we are here to talk about what others don't talk about. We are here to answer questions, comments, concerns, negative and positive. I don't care if you send an email and say, your show sucks. Cool.
We encourage that because that's still an interaction with you and I.
We encourage that so that you know, we can shrink my head a little bit so I can fit through some doors. All the good feedback, none of the bad feedback. Our egos are getting a little too big. We got no problem with you guys checking them. If you want to call bullshit, call bullshit. You can do so. www.towinglife.ca. Find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast, or you can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Questions, concerns, comments. The website is up, guys. It has a contact us form. You can put in your information. You can ask to stay anonymous, all that good stuff. So don't be afraid. If you have anything to say, let us know. We will continue to get to them.
Also, make sure to hit that like button down there. And if you do want to shrink PlainGuy's head, there's a button down there for that too. And while you're down there, you might as well hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all the great content we put out. And if you want to skip all those nasty steps of going to the website or searching us up on Facebook, there's a comment section down below as well. You can type your mean hate comments in there.
Did you go to commercial school since last week, since we recorded? Because god damn, I want to hire you. I just don't know for what.
Well, you already did hire me, right?
I have a product that I want you to sell. I just have no idea what the product was, because that was amazing.
I'll sell it for you, man.
Oh, no. So, guys, today we want to get into a little deeper dive than we've done before. It's going to be a little touchy. It's going to be a little different. I want to talk about...
PlainGuy has a goal to make me cry this episode. And I can't let that happen.
Oh my god, if you cry on the internet, it's going to be phenomenal. But...
Fuck you.
But no, guys, we joke, we kid, we laugh. But let's get to the deep, dark secret. We have all encountered at one point in our career, if you haven't, you will, and the unfortunate truth behind it. But if you've been doing it long enough, we have all encountered calls that have taken an absolute toll on us. Mentally, you know, we don't even realize it sometimes, how it, you know, messes with us in the back of our minds. I'm sure most of you have had stories like this. It is what it is. It's a reality of what we face every day. You're not alone in it, right? That is the one thing we want to talk about tonight. We are going to share some stories with you guys that, you know, are our worst wrecks. Are things that we'll talk about, things that we see and that I can tell you I can still close my eyes and see. It is going to get a little deep. It is going to get a little dark. If that is not your kind of thing, by all means, feel free to shut off the episode. We got no problem. Skip to the next one. If not, if you want to hear more, by all means, stay with us. So, we're talking about this, right? We've all had those bad fucking wrecks. Terrible wrecks. Things that we don't want the public to see, and the things that, the public, we talked about it 2 weeks ago with Andrew, were trying to videotape on their phone. Calls that really hang on to us and that, let's be honest, fuck us up. What is that call for you? We all have them.
Well,
what is it?
I think for a lot of people, myself including, the first fatal that you ever go to is one that stays with you the longest, I think. Just because it's a completely new experience and you gotta figure out how to deal with those things. And my first fatal, it was on a 2-lane road and it was a little Hyundai Accent that spun around and went backwards into an oncoming car. And I think they said the car that spun around the little Hyundai was probably doing 60, 65, and the car that rear-ended it, technically, was going like 100. So this little Hyundai Accent, small car to begin with, became a shoebox size car. So when we finally got the call, the road had been shut down and 2 vehicles, so we dispatched myself and one of our flatbeds. And I get there and both the cars are completely mangled, and we ended up making the call to get another flatbed out just to make it easier. But the bad thing about this call was the body was still laying there right next to the car that I had to tow. And that really buggered me up. It got to the point when we started cleaning up the scene, I had to run down to my coworker's house to pick up some garbage bags because we ran out because there was just so much garbage there. And when I came back, my headlights shined on the body bag, which was technically just a cover covering the body. And the woman's hand was sticking outside of the cover. And I know it was probably just my mind playing tricks on me, but I could swear I saw her fingers move. And that right there, when I closed my eyes at night, I could still picture the fingers moving. And that was the thing that fucked me up the most. Not the fact that the lady that died was a grandmother, was a mother that left behind a family that loved her. All that I could get over. The fact that she was still laying there 5 or 6 hours after the accident actually happened, which was a fucked up thing as well. And I thought I saw her fingers moving. That really took a toll on me.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone will blame you for that, right? That's crazy to, we show up to these scenes and I don't know why that body would have ever been there 5-6 hours after, but no, that's regardless. That's not our job, right?
But once I finally started to get over that wreck, I found out the lady driving the other vehicle died as well. So then I had to go over all the grief and emotions again, thinking now that the other lady died, because I still remember it. This is what really got me into the dark humor of the towing industry. I got there and I said to my coworker, I was like, I wonder how the lady is in that vehicle. And he says, better than that one, laying on the ground. I was like, oh man, fucking too soon. Too fucking soon.
Oh man, no, that is a good sign. You know what? That is one thing that I've noticed, and I was the same way, and I think that's where we're naive to it, and maybe the cops have it too. The first time I heard a comment like that, it was the same thing. I was like, you twisted son of a... But you know what? That's what we talk about, dealing with it, right? We all find ways to deal with it. That dark humor is a way to disconnect. Right? That is a way to disconnect from it and kind of, you're not quite accepting it. You got a job to do. You treat it like any other. Let's be honest. We would do the same thing if there wasn't bodies involved. Right?
Yeah.
So it's that way to disconnect from it. Cops always seem so savage. Fire departments seem so savage for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that sticks with you. Now, let me ask you, G, did you ever actually... through your work, through the police, anybody, did you reach out, or was there any sort of guidance that was asked, offered to you?
So it was actually really nice because after that, I kind of shut down. I became like a hermit. I showed up work the next day, did my job just like anyone else would do. And you actually reached out to me because you were working there and you kept asking me if I'm all right. And to talk about it. And I think I turned you down the first or second time. And then I got to be 3 or 4 weeks down the road, and I finally opened up to you. And then after that, you checked in like a month later. And that was the most amount of support system I think I've ever had. And I thank you for that.
Right.
And I try to be that type of guy now in my company where I work, and just checking in on the guys, making sure that they're all right, seeing how their day's going after something like that. And I think we all need that. If our coworkers, they know we're going through, if you've been in this industry a long time, they have good advice on how to get you through some of these situations that you're dealing with. And it's a very good resource, and free too. Because I fucking wouldn't pay this guy to be my therapist. Fuck that.
I would be a terrible therapist. I'd be a terrible therapist. I'd be a terrible parent. I watched a video today. Mom told her daughter, buckle up in the backseat. Young kid. Daughter wouldn't listen to her. She's like, you buckle up or I'm going to stop this car. Hits the brakes. Kid, his face hits the headrest. I laughed. I showed my wife. That would be the kind of therapist I would be. I would be like, here, watch this funny video of this kid just eating shit into the back of a headrest.
Fuck.
But no, it's, I honestly, I don't remember reaching out to you on the whole thing. I'm glad that I did, I guess. But it is true, right? It's when you've been, to those kinds of scenes, now that you've been to them and you kind of understand the process, checking in, with somebody, and you know what? They'll probably turn you down. But letting, especially these new guys coming into the industry, we're seeing turnover like crazy. These new guys coming in, if you're bringing a new guy to a wreck, or after he went to one, check in on him. Guys, after we've been doing this long enough, you get enough of them in. We all pretend that we're, we can't be affected by anything, that we're, you know what I mean? It doesn't bug us. The crazy part is stories like you just said, G, every tower has them. Every tower has something, a story that stuck with them in one way or another. And we all walk around and pretend like we don't. And I get it, especially when you're dealing them and shortly after you're putting on that Superman, that macho face. But the reality is you are going to have to deal with that at one point or another.
And the problem is, if you don't deal with it, I know myself, not dealing with things, I've snapped at customers that had no reason that I needed to snap at. And it got to the point where they said they had the worst day of their life. And it got to the point where I said, well, I just had to sweep fucking so-and-so up off the floor. So you calm your shit.
Yeah. Tell me again how you're having the worst day. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No,
we got to deal with that.
Yep.
Right.
And for the most part, we don't have the resources as an industry available to us. And I wish we did. We do not have the resources of, when cops or fire, when they deal with the fatality steps they need to go through. We do that and we're off to the next call. And absolutely, I'm not saying you need to sit there and grieve and cry in the corner for 30 minutes after every fatal you do, but just make sure that you're addressing it. And that if you are having any problems with it, right, there is resources out there to help. crisisservicecanada.ca with the phone number. There's a 1-800 phone number. We'll put it in the description.
I think I'm going to put the phone number at the bottom of this video for pretty much the full fucking video.
Perfect.
So at any point, just jot it down.
Yeah.
Put it in your phone. Who jots things down anymore? Fuck, take a screenshot of it, for fuck's sakes. Do something.
But no, it's true. And we'll make sure to get it to the audio listeners one way. We'll throw it in the description on the podcast, because everyone needs someone to talk to through that stuff. It is not a good time. It is not something you want to struggle with it. I've struggled with it as well. And I went years without addressing it. I just went, it didn't bug me. And, had times where I shut down. I didn't know why. It had been acting up until once I started talking about it, never had a problem with the goddamn thing again. For the most part, I got no problem telling the story today.
PlainGuy, when he gets quiet, there's something up, because this guy never shuts the fuck up, ever.
It is true. I cannot argue with that. So the one I had, I remember it. I don't think it was my first. I definitely don't think it was my first. But it wasn't, I didn't have a dozen under my belt at that time. We did this one. It was on a 400 highway. Car rolled into the median. We got the call. Car rolled into the median. That's all we got. You know, we knew it was pretty bad because they'd shut the highway down. We figured it was probably a fatal. And so we got out there. Car's up on its side. We can't see. Like, I'm looking at the undercarriage of a car. There's a couple trucks on scene. I can't remember if they hit something. Yeah, they did hit something else. So there was heavies on scene. Because what had happened is a transport had T-boned a car. The car had lost control in a snowstorm, was parked sideways on a 400 highway, and the transport never seen him. Yeah. Yeah, not the spot you want to be in.
It's not your Walmart parking lot.
No. So this transport T-boned this car, which was dead stop. Transport's doing about 80, 90 kilometers. You can imagine it was, I want to say a Ford Fusion or a Cadillac. I couldn't tell you the car, to be honest. Don't remember the car. I remember it was white, I think.
It was also snowing, right?
Or silver. Might have been silver. Anyways, besides the point. Let's not get off track here. So we're looking at the undercarriage of the car. We don't see the car. Officer comes and tells us, he goes, I got to tell you guys, just so you know, there's a body in the car. Cool. You know, we got shit to do. We're going to pull it out of the ditch. We're going to load it on the tow truck, and we are going to get it out of here with the body still in the car. Cool. Not my favorite scenario to be in, but cool. What are you going to do? So he tells us this. We do the rigging. We get set up. We roll the car over. What I was not ready for with fatals that I've done and bodies that I've seen, I wasn't ready for the guy to come from the driver's side to the passenger side. So when the car landed, he literally flopped over. I can still see the side. It's a terrible sight to see. Meanwhile, all these people going down the highway are trying to get video of it on their goddamn cell phone. Trust me, you don't want to see that. So we pull this car out of the ditch, up onto the flatbed. You know, when you're pulling it turned front, you don't really see anything. You're not really, you know, nothing bad. And then I still remember we're putting a tarp on it because they obviously want it tarped. And I remember I'm pulling the tarp on my side, and my boss was pulling the tarp on the other side, and he pulled, and he's on the driver's side, I'm on the passenger side. He pulled it hard, and I'm looking forward, and I'm staring at the guy. Still seeing him, whole side of his head, just staring at him. One of those things, you know, you shouldn't look, but it happens, and you can't look away. And anyway, so fucking, you know, I'm cursing, Jesus Christ. Pull the tarp back down, we're tying it down. The officer, we talk about that twisted humor. The officer comes over to me, you know, over to us and goes, you make sure to tie that tarp tight. That guy's already having a bad day. We don't need to make it any worse. And I remember just looking, you know, it was still early. It was one of my first ones where you're looking at the cop like, you twisted son of a bitch. But it's true. That's where you learn that it is the stuff you had to deal with, right? And so we hauled this car to an ident bay, unloaded it, same thing. Unload the car. Something, for some reason, I'm walking by, catches my eye in the car going, what is that? Like, you know, with the debris and everything. Sure enough, look over again. It's like the guy's hand. And I'm like, why? Like, I didn't know this. I didn't know this guy. It was a father-son on their way somewhere on a trip. Don't remember where it was. And, you know, for work, whatever it was. And they just didn't make it. And the fact that the son died later, the father died on scene, the everything. I didn't talk about that wreck for weeks, months, maybe. Because we just pretended it was nothing wrong. You know, hey, that's just part of the job. Get used to it. Well, get used to it is one thing. And there's going to be a ton of assholes that are going to listen to this, and I hope they do, and sit there and go, you guys are just being sensitive bitches. It's the reality. You know, and the problem is with the new guys that are coming in is they're not making this generation, the next generation, even tougher, any tougher. And it's going to be even harder on them. You want to sit there and be, you know, have your flashing lights and be called first responders. Then at least give yourself the respect of the resources that every other first responder would have, at least when it comes to mental health situations. That's my rant. No, but it's something that's serious to me, right? We see it a lot. You know, the long hours, you know, we're wondering what's pushing people out of our fucking industry. You know, they're being given situations like this with no resources. They're given long hours and everything else. You know, I mean, tow truck driving is a job, but if you want to be taken serious, offer the resources and the other things that everyone else does.
So when I first met you, you never really talked about mental health all that much. When did you really start figuring out that mental health is an actual real thing that you got to address more so and deal with it?
I don't know. You know what? It's a good question. I remember just not feeling right after a while. I just didn't feel right. And I believe I actually reached out. I had talked to my father, who is an inspector who has dealt with many fatal stuff. You know, he definitely encouraged me to talk about it. The more you talk about the story, you know, one of the biggest things people will have is that as time goes on, you remember the story differently. And so sometimes people won't want to talk about it again because they remember it differently than how they told it in the first place. And they're worried that people are going to think they're lying. You know what I mean? That people would pick that story apart and be judged. That was an honest thing that he had taught me. And it's true. We do remember things differently. I say I can see the guy flopping over. You know what I mean? That was 5 years ago. Things change in your mind, so don't ever be afraid to talk about it. As for though, when, you know, I'll be the first guy to admit I went to my doctor and I said, I don't feel right. I don't know what's going on. Something's bugging me. I did not feel suicidal. I did not feel any of those things, but something wasn't right with me. And so we went through and we asked some questions and we did some, you know, some tests and some different things like that. And he came back and said that you're dealing with a case of anxiety and depression. I'll be the first guy to tell you. Up until something like that, I honestly thought anxiety was the biggest bullshit ever, you know, created. This was worse than, you know, all the other ethical debates we're having right now that we shouldn't be having. That was me with anxiety, where I'm just like, that's just some bullshit thing people make up whenever they, you know what I mean? They get nervous or they get anxious, you know, anxious. It is anxiety. But it's not a condition, right? It's something in your head, which it is. And it's a fucking condition. And that combined with my depression was just, it put me in a hole. It put me in a slump. That was right about the time that I left the company that we worked together with. It wasn't long around that time because I was just struggling. Not necessarily with stuff that I had seen up there. They were great to me, they were whatever, but I was just struggling at a point in my life. And, you know, throw that anxiety, throw that depression at it as well, and it makes for a tough time. So that was about the time when I could say that, you know, it was like mental health is a serious issue.
I never really struggled with anxiety, but one of my ex-girlfriends, she was very anxious, like very anxious. If the forecast even called for snow, she didn't want to drive that far the next day. And I never really thought anything of it. I was always there for her and everything. And it got to the point where I started worrying about a lot of things that I never really worried about before. Like if she didn't text me when she got home, I'll see her when I get home. Then I started worrying about that. And it's just shit like that where I think it builds up over time.
Yeah.
And the immunity that you think that you might have might fade away once you get beaten down enough, and having that experience and the lifestyle surround you for long enough to where, you know what they say, if you surround yourself with a group of friends, you're going to start emulating different things about them. And that's the same thing with the towing industry. You surround yourself with a lot of guys that don't talk about shit and got a lot of dark and sometimes dry humor. You're going to start emulating that. And if those people that you're surrounding yourself with don't actually express themselves in any way, shape, or form, or share tips of how to deal with things, you're never going to really learn about coping mechanisms unless you do your own research. And I know for myself, unless it's really fucking me up, I don't really go out of my way to research things. I just deal with it myself. And however I deal with it is the best way I know, when there could be a lot of other better ways to deal with things like that.
Well, that's it. And, you know, like I said, you emulate the people that are around you, and that, you know, and you don't have to, right? It doesn't make, you know, and I'm not saying that every person out there listening to this is going to go, yeah, you know what, I hit that wall of depression. Maybe you haven't. Good for you. I'm happy for you. But I'm willing to bet there is one or two people that it has. And, you know, probably more. You know, there's probably a high enough percentage that actually deal with it that, you know, sit there and listening right now and go, yeah, you know, I do have that. Where we wouldn't
And
admit
if you
it.
don't have anyone to talk to, feel free to reach out to us at any of the means that we've previously told you, Facebook, our email, on our website, even in the comment section down below. You need someone to talk to. We might not be the best people to help you in a professional manner, but we're here. Send us a message. We can help you walk through your problems or even our problems as best as we can. But if you do need professional help, once again, the phone number is going to be right there in the video. It's going to be in the description. I'll tell you the phone number right now so you can listen to it. The phone number is 1-833-456-4566.
Oh, that's a new
Crystal clear. Crystal clear. There it is. Laying it all out there.
No, it's just because so many people will sit there and pretend that they don't, right? And that's probably the worst part. Is I'm not shitting on people for how they want to handle it, but at the same time, it's, we all walk around pretending that it's not an issue that needs to be addressed, and it's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed.
Think of it this way: you start hearing a noise in the front end of your pickup, and you're like, "Oh, turn the radio up; it'll go away." But it doesn't go away. No, it's your bearing, and eventually that bearing's going to break and leave you stranded somewhere. And I don't want that analogy of the pickup truck to be you. I'm talking directly to you. I don't want your bearing to let out on you going down the road and be stranded somewhere in a bad spot. I want you to be able to see the signs and hear the signs and deal with the problem before it becomes a bigger issue.
But how are you ever going to make money off the tow if they don't break down?
Oh, fuck you. That's
a terrible business model. It's great advice, but it's a terrible fucking business model.
That's why I'm not an owner. Just a driver.
Fair enough. Hey,
but I got another story, and
okay,
you know how we deal with things and we desensitize ourselves from them, right?
Mm.
I did a motorcycle versus car, a couple months back, and it fucked me up on a completely different level. And the reason why is because when I got there, it was before I was even going to tow it. It was get there before you're dispatched, right? And I was standing there. The gentleman who was riding the motorcycle, a car was making a left-hand turn, didn't see him, and he drove right into the side of it. And when he drove into the side of the car, the bike split open the door, and it was just a bad scene. The guy went over the top of the car. Anyways, I was standing there, and I saw the wife show up with her daughter, bawling her eyes out. And she collapsed on the ground. She was crying, wanting to see her husband again. She rides as well. It's a whole family of motorcycle riders. And then I found out the guy has 5 kids. And that he was in the ICU. And then he later passed away, leaving 5 kids behind. Plus side, he was an organ donor, so at least there was some good that came out of the story. But a month and a half, I think, went by. I towed both of them, so like the car and the motorcycle at the same time. And the lady driving the car, she G2 driver. She was eating a sandwich. The only reason why I know that because she put the sandwich on the dash. Good job hiding evidence. But when she showed up, her parents took her off all social media. And she asked my office lady, "Do you know if the guy's all right?" She didn't know. She did not know that she killed this guy a month and a half after it happened.
damn.
Now, I'm not bashing on the parents. Everyone's got their own parenting methods, but I feel like deep down in my heart, if I'm grieving and trying to take all this in, all this new information that I just severely injured someone, I would kind of want to deal with it all at once instead of in parts, kind of like how I did in that last fatal where I knew the one person died, then I had to deal with figuring out the other person died.
The delayed,
right? Yeah, thinking
PTSD
that having
response.
false hope, thinking the guy might pull through, and then realizing he died a month and a half ago, and I'm just finding out about this now. I think that's going to really screw up that kid. And I feel bad for her. I do. Mistakes happen, accidents happen. That's why they're called accidents. But it's just, oh, sorry. I'm not crying. Fuck you. I got too involved in it. I was unable to desensitize. The wife and I follow each other on Instagram now, which I just got way too in depth. She went on a trip with her girlfriends to try to get away from it. They put up a nice mural at the intersection. Some fucking asshole keeps tearing it down though, and it's like nice. Like it's got 4x4 posts. It's put down on the ground like 4 feet. Beautiful, nice flowers around it, and some asshole keeps taking it down.
You really got invested in this, Jesus.
Yeah, like I got
you
way
painted
too
the
invested
mural.
in it.
You painted the mural, is what you're saying.
I did not paint the mural, but no, like it's a beautiful mural that they got, but I got way too invested in the situation at hand. At the end of the day, I'm getting paid for a job. Someone's got to clean up the mess, and that's what I'm there for. You get the little bit of grief. Yeah, someone died. It sucks, and you feel for them because no one wants to die, and it gets to the point where you got to make sure you are staying an appropriate distance away from the situation, whether that's not looking at the obituaries that week, not searching on Facebook, don't make it harder on yourself. Do your job, be civil, show your respects if they show up at your office or your pound or whatever the case may be, but don't invest yourself into something that you don't need investing in. Because at the end of the day, it's only going to fuck you up more.
True. It's true. You try and keep it at an arm's length, right? That's the trick we always have. Keep it at an arm's length. And that's hard. That's hard for some people. And I don't blame them. Right? I've always been decent at that. Like I don't take it personal. Like, yeah, I was sad the guy was a father and son. Obviously, you think of, road trips I've done with my dad, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's you keep it at an arm's length and you just go, I have a job to do. Easier said than done at times. Absolutely. I don't know. I've never looked for an obituary. The only one I ever looked for was a court. I was looking for a court date and a court ruling on a DUI fatal. That I was interested in. Not because I felt bad for the family. I wanted that piece of shit to go to jail. So... No, definitely try and keep your distance best you can. Like I said, some people can do it, some people can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's nothing more to say on that topic. That was definitely a tough one for you. You took it to heart. How would you think you'd do it differently again? Because obviously you want to be, remorseful. You want to show respect to the family. How would you have done it differently the next time?
Well, I actually had a next time, to be honest with you.
Go.
2 weeks went by, another motorcycle versus car. This time it was a 16-year-old on a dirt bike. He was sideways in the middle of the road, and the van fucking smoked him. I stayed far away from that one. I towed the van, so at least I didn't tow the motorcycle. I feel like if I towed the motorcycle, I would have been a little bit more fucked up. Not sure why. It's just, a little bit different. And I didn't follow family on Instagram. They didn't follow me because they didn't see me there. We didn't re-tow the vehicles. Like we ended up towing that motorcycle back to the lady's house, like the wife's house from the first story.
Right.
So we got more involved in that one just because we had to. It was our job. And so the second time it all went through insurance. There's a massive memorial at that intersection for that young kid as well. One of the local barbershops. He literally just got a mullet like 3 days before he got killed. So that barbershop was giving free mullets for all his like friends and family and everything. So that's
some
cool.
Community shit. You're in the country.
Yeah, that's some community shit. And I think that's what really separated it was look at the positives and looking at how the community comes together instead of focusing all on the negative and the actual death itself, is seeing how the community is coming together in these hard times. I think that really helped me personally. And just being able to talk to people, since that one, the second one with the young kid, there's 2 of us there. So we both dealt with it. So then me and my manager, we're both the guys that did that one, were able to talk about it a little bit because we're both there at the same time.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so you take the look at it and you go, the community is grieving as a whole, but look at what they're trying to do to work through it. And it just helps you grieve too, right? Like, yeah, again, you're not sitting there crying in the corner, but it just helps you, like, that grieving process one way or another. Everyone grieves differently for different, levels of severity to, different, some people like to cry. I don't know any of them. But sometimes just being around somebody else or taking the good from it is enough, right? Is enough. It's really a hard subject. It honestly is, because the worst part is nobody deals with it the same. Everyone deals with it slightly differently. So to find that way that works for you, obviously that sounds like it helps in that situation. But the next guy, myself,
I want to keep talking about this because we're not at our time yet, but it's getting hard. It's fucking getting hard, man. But to maybe lighten the mood a little bit, that cop that told you to tie that tarp down nice and tight, I'm surprised he didn't ask you to get the seatbelt on that guy.
So you wouldn't have to write him a ticket. No, there was another one. I can't remember. I did another fatal like that where there was something where he said some twisted shit. Oh man, some of the stuff the cops have just come out, and it's just like you look at them and Jesus Christ. And they're normally great one-liners. Like, you look back at it after and you go, "Oh fuck yeah, that was funny." I didn't think it was at the time.
That officer's probably been there for 4 hours, and he's probably thought about this in his head, and he's just waiting for the right opportunity to just be a savage motherfucker and just lay it out there and shell shock someone.
Yeah, I know.
That's a great word, fucking shell shocked. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't take PTSD seriously, because with the new language that we have, we're desensitizing a lot of languages, like the new words and phrases. Shell shock is a hard, manly word. PTSD just kind of, rolls off the tongue. It's not a hard word like tow truck and shotgun and stuff like that.
People think, oh, I have PTSD, so I like unicorns, and you know what I mean? Like, it is true. There's a certain manly aspect to it. As we sit here and sound, if I would have heard myself say this 5 years ago, I would have called myself an absolute bitch. I got no problem saying it. But it's the truth. The reality is we grow older. We learn new things. Not that I am old, but we definitely learn,
You're an old fart. Who are you kidding?
I got plenty of years. So,
hey, at least you're an old fart and not an old fuck.
That's fair. But no, guys, I can't say it enough. Just, make sure you're checking on your guys. Don't check. You don't have to check in. If you're the guy that's having a hard time with it, you don't have to check in. But if you're the guy that have dealt with this before, guys, check on them. Right? Check on your buddies. Ask for help. If it gets too much, there's always resources that are available. There will be the one on the website. On the link below. There's also crisisservicescanada.ca. They'll give you the best one in the area. We can't say it enough. If it can help one person, I'm not saying all you guys listening, and that's why I told you, if this isn't your thing, fuck off, tune into the next episode. I don't really care.
Hey, what are you saying? They tuned off at the beginning.
That's fair enough. They should have been gone by now. But no, if it can help anyone out there, reach out, ask for the resources. If you have any stories that you want to tell us, we don't have to share them on the show by any means, unless you want us to, which you probably don't, but you can reach out to us. Ask us to keep it anonymous.
If we get enough people that write in wanting us to talk about it, we're going to have a fucking shitty episode next week.
I know. I'm not doing this episode again. We're not doing one of these for at least a couple weeks, because these are some dark, deep episodes. That is not what the show is about. The show is about having fun, being stupid, and talking tow trucks.
But it's the untold stories of the towing industry that we all deal with, and it needs to be addressed. It's like once again, Heavy Rescue 401, it shows all the good aspects of it, but they don't show any of the bad aspects. And I know the general public probably doesn't even realize that we go through all this kind of stuff too.
No, it's true. It's true. Guys, if you've seen your fair share, you want to talk about it, you want to send it in, you can head over to the website, towinglife.ca. Towinglife.ca, sorry.
Fucked that up, didn't you?
Yeah, I know. Well, we're going to get this all straightened out, G. I promise you guys, we're going to make this all easy in one place so you can reach us. We are in the middle of working on it. You can find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast, or you can email us directly thetowinglife@gmail.com. Website's easiest. There's a form there. You fill it out, you send it in, you can stay anonymous. Share your stories, share any problems you have. If you guys need someone to talk to, you can comment, message the page. You know, if you're watching on YouTube, I believe they can direct message you somehow as well.
Not sure.
Right to the page. You deal with the YouTube side of this. There is ways to reach out to us, guys, you know, if you need it. If you don't need it, by all means.
The help is there.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
If you don't need it, check in on your guys, make sure they don't need it. The Towing Life podcast wouldn't be possible without the help of our amazing sponsors.
Herb's Towing should be your go-to contact for all cross-border trips. With 2 convenient locations near the Quebec and US border, Herb's Towing will pick up or finish any cross-border runs. With a large fleet of light and heavy-duty units, they are sure to meet all your towing needs.
So support those that support your favorite podcast and visit them at herbstowing.ca. That's HERBS towing.ca for more information.
Yeah.
So,
and if you do need it, feel free to reach out. Just literally reach out. Tell someone. Anyone. Just someone.
Absolutely. So, on behalf of myself, PlainGuy, and my co-host over there, Mr. G, I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I know it was a little deep and dark. We will be back again next week. We have something special on tap for you guys for then. Until then, we'll see you on the next one.
Peace out.